Yeah, I think that the Falcons pick presents an interesting opportunity. I feel like there's probably actually going to be a decent amount of competition. I believe it'd be a total moving up, 15 spots? Correct?
Yes. Yeah. So it would be, because, wait, no, they're 4. We're 20, so it'd be 16 spots.
Yes, so 16 spots. And I think, like you said, 1, 2, 3 are pretty sealed in order. At least I can feel pretty confident that 1, 2, 3 are at least going to be quarterbacks. So it seems like that leftover person would be Trey Lance. And I don't know if at this rate, with how kind of hot
or
the quarterback market has gotten, it seems like, it's probably going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, or at least he's going to go in the top 5. Really no way in my mind that, 4 quarterbacks don't get taken in the top 10 at bare minimum. So it does present an awesome opportunity. I am pro Trey Lance. I like his game. I like what he brings. I think that, the Bears do have a potential to trade down, like he kind of brought up last week, and maybe go for someone like Mond, which I think you either do this or you do that, right? I almost feel to this point, I would really like them to grab a tackle in the first round, but I really wouldn't be disappointed too if they collect some more picks, because it just kind of seems like they do need to they need to hit on a lot of good players in this draft, at the very least. They need to hit on a lot of players, and when you do weigh it, I know we joked about it last week, but Pace's track record in the first round isn't great, so I'm not fully I don't fully trust him to make the proper pick at 20. So I figure you might as well give him where he ends up hitting a lot of these picks. And if we end up with multiple seconds and a couple thirds and possibly anything else down the line there, I'd take that as a benefit. Or I think that you make this move, you go up, get Trey Lance, and you be bold and aggressive with it. I think that you're either taking a quarterback this year and trading up, or you're punting it down the road one more year and trading down this year.
Here's the thing: if we don't trade up, if we don't trade up, in my opinion, I don't like picking at 20. I think that mid-low first round area is like one of the worst values in the draft. I would rather the Bears trade down to like end of the first round, or like even with like the Jaguars, they have like second round pick number 1, and then they have in the second round pick number 12. Getting both of those picks in exchange for our first round pick, that would be a much better value to me, because it obviously is going to depend on how the board kind of plays out as the night goes on as to what players are going to be available at that pick. But based on what a lot of people are like showing, the players that are available at pick 20 aren't really that big of a difference than those second round picks. So to me, it's like, why not, trade down, maybe get like a stellar offensive lineman, so like a really good offensive lineman, even get a great center or something, like another, centerpiece for this offense. Or hey, why not even pick up someone like Travis Etienne, like a really, really good running back that is going to have a really long future in this league that you can pair with David Montgomery. I know we got Damian Williams, but, someone who's a little bit younger, more explosive, kind of take that multiple player approach, or even pick up a tackle and a wide receiver. It seems better to me to trade down or trade up. All right, guys, really quickly before we continue with the show, we have to let you know that this podcast is supported by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels, and they obsess over their technology developments. They're trusted by over 2 million men worldwide, and we have an exclusive offer code for our listeners, 20% off plus free shipping using code BEARNECESSITIES, no space, at manscaped.com. Manscaped sent both Reese and I over a bunch of their tools and formulations from their Perfect Package 3.0. And guys, Manscaped is a great company. They wanted us to wait until we try the products to give you guys our honest opinion, and it is a very good product. They have no-nick technology and a little LED light, which helps you get the job done a little bit easier. Both Reese and I have really enjoyed the Lawnmower 3.0 so far, and we're looking forward to trying a lot of their other products. The underwear that they sent us in the box too has been spectacular, and if you guys are into athletics or go to the gym frequently, highly recommend those as well. And guys, really quickly, if you use the same razor on your face as below the waist, guys, that's a little bit nasty. Try to pick up something specifically engineered for that below the waist region with the Lawnmower 3.0. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BareNecessities at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping using code BareNecessities at manscaped.com. Make sure you check how to spell that in the description. That's going to support the podcast tremendously. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, that's how I'm trying to stay positive on the subject or the subject of the draft really is just knowing that the Bears do have options as far as trading up and trading down. That 20 pick isn't bad, but I think that just this draft kind of weeds out in a way where I lose confidence in the ability for them to really maximize the potential of that pick. But maybe that's just too much of fear, and I should believe in Ryan Pace. But I think, there's a decent amount of Bears fans that would probably share that sentiment of not quite trusting him, at least from what I see in our comments on social media all the time. But I think that's at least what keeps me inspired for this draft.
I remember earlier this week I sent you this next gen, I don't know if it was a next gen stats NFL or whatever it was, but it was rookie snaps above average, and then on the Y scale of the graph, and then it was draft picks on the X scale of the drafts, and the Bears had some of the lowest amount of picks, which also included first round picks, but also had the highest efficiency as far as our drafted players, essentially. So I understand the Ryan Pace concerns, and I think his first round draft sentiment is a lot worse than his later round picks, and I think that's pretty evident. I have to hope that it seems like he learned from all of his past mistakes when it came to Kevin White, Trubisky, Leonard Floyd, who now he's doing he earned himself a second contract with the Rams. So we don't really even know if he was doing that poorly, but if that's really a bust pick anymore. I mean, it's a bust because he didn't work out with the Bears, but I don't know if that's really a bust pick. But at the end of the day, I think that the best way for Ryan Pace to address the way that he knows how to draft isn't to just let a player come to him. He likes to move around in the draft to find guys that he truly likes. And I think that's exactly, what he needs to do here. I know sometimes it doesn't work out with guys like Joel Iyiegbuniwe or Iggy, who got benched by Monte Teo pretty much at the end of the season. Guys like that, they don't always work out for him, but the fact of the matter is he hits on them way more often than not. And because of that, I think that, I think that I do trust Ryan Pace when it comes to drafting, especially defensive players.
Yeah, and ultimately, do you think with that 20th pick, do you think it's more likely that they actually stay there?
No.
And who would you think that they would end up picking if they did? I know you just said.
Yeah, I don't think that they will stay there, personally.
Yeah.
And that's not even that hot of a take for any team because teams just move around. I think that the Bears will either trade up or move back. And that's why I believe, truthfully in my heart, I think that if they do want to trade up, you might as well go for gold and move up for the Falcons pick. Unless you...
I was going to ask, do you think that's more than most likely pick?
I don't think it's likely.
Before the Carolina trade, I was thinking that that's where they might try to swoop in.
I don't know if it's...
That kind of shook everything.
Yeah, the hard thing is that you look at the Lions at 7... They might draft a quarterback. It's if you're going to draft a quarterback, you might as well go for it. I think that it will probably... I don't think that it's going to take them as much as it took San Francisco to get to 3, personally. And even though it's a less amount of picks jumping, it's the fact that San Francisco gets the 3rd quarterback pick and then Chicago would get the 4th quarterback pick. You kind of get the leftovers. So... here's the thing is that at the end of the day, at that 4th pick that Justin Fields or Trey Lance is going to be there. And if you like one of those two guys, then you might as well go for it. You might as well. It's not going to really bother you if you have to trade another 1st round pick and a 2nd round pick if that guy is a guy that Nagy thinks is really good quarter. I believe in Nagy's quarterback evaluation skills, personally. I personally believe in Nagy's evaluation skills. I don't believe that he has had a fair shot at getting one of his guys. He always has to go the route of, oh, let's find another, retool, another repurposed quarterback. That's what he's had to do. And yeah, I mean, if you look at the Nick Foles pick or the signing him in context, it's not really that bad of a signing because like none of these guys worked out besides Tom Brady. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. As far as Nagy, hasn't really even had his choice of quarterback the whole time he's been here. And I mean, you think about his options. He was basically forced to work with Trubisky when he originally came in, and then Nick Foles was his other option. I mean, that's not exactly two amazing people to be working with. So I would tend to agree with you there. And honestly, when it comes down to Trey Lance or Justin Fields, I'd be happy with either. I think that
Who would you pick?
Might be a little bit happy
if you had both of them.
I would probably pick Trey Lance.
That'd be a tough call.
It's tough though.
That's a tough call.
It's tough. It's so tough though because it's hard not to fall in love with Fields' deep ball. I mean, he can put. You said it last week. Like he can put it anywhere when it comes to being down on the field. It's just from what I've watched. Like I don't know. There's just certain points in his game that are a little more discouraging, and maybe that's where Trey Lance's lack of tape is kind of seems like maybe there could be something there that's not.
Yeah.
So it's almost a little bit of a trap. Trey Lance seems like the one where you want to be like, hey, this man's got unbelievable potential. But then you have Justin Fields here, and then we knock him because he has so much tape, because he played so much in college. But I think that when you kind of said a little bit of like, not that he is the next Deshaun Watson or something, but that he has some of the similar characteristics of Deshaun Watson, I can see it a lot more in his game.
It's like, I feel like Trey Lance could be like an absolute flop, but potentially. Like I love him. I love his traits. I think he has like a ton of great qualities, but because of the lack of film, because of, some certain aspects of his game, they didn't utilize him as well as like as they probably should have in the passing game. It's like, it's one of those things where it's like what we were talking about last year when it comes to like Justin Herbert is like, can he do it and the scheme just doesn't ask him to do it? Or can he not do it? And that's the reason why the scheme doesn't ask him to do it. It's that whole argument because, I mean, for you guys who are newer NFL watchers or whatever, Reese and I, when we were talking about the quarterbacks last year, we were like, hey, you look at Justin Herbert, almost every single one of his throws are into the first read. And that was like, it was all over his film. It was almost every single thing. And that was the same reason why Marcus Mariota was terrible in the NFL. Or has been pretty terrible since. But then he gets to the Chargers and it's like, oh my God. He looks like he's Tom Brady going through his reads. And you're like, what? Like, where the hell did this come from? He couldn't have learned this in one season, So it's like, that's the trick. It's almost like for me, if I was Ryan Pace and I had that option, I would probably go Fields. And the reason why is because I just feel like Fields, the one thing that really like, how should I say this? Mitchell Trubisky has a lot of like, he had potential. He didn't really like play at the major level, had lack of film. And because of that, like, I feel like Fields is almost the opposite of that, where Fields has a lot of film, played at the highest level, played in the national championship, didn't win it, but still, the thing that I love with Fields is his deep accuracy. I mean, that's just something you cannot coach to players. It's such a hard trait to have. And I know that if he can hit one of those like if he can hit that like throw like a couple times a game, that is a game-breaking throw.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that turns the game on its side, honestly. And I think that, Pace has already made the speculative pick. So I think maybe his tendencies, maybe he goes a little bit safer of an option. So maybe Fields is the more realistic option, and Lance is a little more enticing because you feel like the ceiling could be possibly through the roof. But like you said, that floor is also, we have a lot better idea of what Justin Fields' floor is.
Is there any chance that either of those two guys make it out of the top 10? Because if so, no. I would almost be willing to like sit and just whoever slips, just go grab them. And like not even, because it would not eliminate the possibility of getting a first round quarterback next year if something went wrong.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that, if they do fall, if one of them does fall, it presents an amazing opportunity, which I think they could possibly be banking on. I wouldn't be 100% certain that they end up trading up all the way up to where the Falcons are at. And, with that in mind, they could possibly just, trade it down. But I think that if they do stick with that 20th pick, I think you look towards offensive line. I think wide receiver is a bit enticing just because of it's a decent wide receiver draft once again. I feel like we've had a couple good ones back to back here. But the offensive tackle is such a glaring need, and I know it seems a little desperate to go ahead and make that pick, but it's definitely a possibility. But I'm in unison with you, and that I think that they either trade up or trade down, which maybe more likely is that they just trade down. I can definitely see that.
What would you do? Would you if you got told that it's going to take you, the 20th pick, next year's first round pick, and then a second round pick, would you trade up to 4?
I think what I would do personally is maybe play it a little bit more conservative. I think if someone falls to 7, 8, then you can really try to take that leap up and feel a little bit more confident in what you would have to give up. If someone has the slightest little bit of dropping, then I think you take that opportunity, and I think that if that's not available, then you kick it down and you trade back. That's what I would say. Yeah. So I think 4 might be just a little bit of a reach for him. I don't think realistically that... I know they were willing to give up a lot for Wilson. I'm not sure if they have quite the same long leash on them to go out and get him in the draft. They may. I mean, they're playing it aggressive this offseason. But it's just really hard to tell, so I just want to think conservative and think that they'll just maybe kick the can down the road a little bit.
What would you do, truthfully, if the Bears traded? Let's say they trade down to the 30th pick, but then take Kellen Mond. I would be okay with that. I know it would be very unpopular because he doesn't have a first round grade on him, but from what I see from a lot of people I trust, outside of my own evaluation, guys like Chris Sims who are saying that he's the 3rd or 4th best quarterback in the draft, and I just have continued to kind of watch his film, and I think a lot of people write him off because he definitely holds the ball way too high when he plays. He holds it at his jugular, I don't know what, it's so awkward, but it works for him. He has such a quick release. He's got all everything intangibly that you could possibly want. He has good football IQ. He does kind of seem like this little overlooked guy in the draft. Would you be that upset if the Bears took him at the very late part of the first round?
I honestly wouldn't. I think that'd be probably kind of tactically well played because it would be early, and you're right. People would be upset with the fact that they took him maybe a little over, took him a little bit ahead of where they needed to. But I think if they do feel that strong conviction on him, if they have a good sense of how he's going to be, then I don't have a problem with them gaining just a little bit more draft capital from trading back, because they're still going to get decent compensation for moving.
Might get a second.
I mean, still
might get another second.
Still the first round, yeah. So you get a little extra capital, which is a second's a good pick, and then you get your guy that you're eyeing out as quarterback. I personally would not mind that. I think that a lot of people would, like you're saying. I think that it's an easily picked on, and the analysts wouldn't really like it either. Yeah. They'd give it a bad grade. But at the end of the day, who cares what the analyst thinks if it ends up working out for you?
The second round Mond pick might be one of the best values in the draft. So I'd be okay with if they just I mean, in my eyes, the best case scenario is that they're able to let's say Penny Sewell falls a little bit in the draft and they trade up and grab him and then circle around back in the second round and snag Kellen Mond. I mean, that'd be an A+ draft for this Bears team, but we'll see if that happens.